How did they react to the film? They've seen the film, obviously.
Yeah, they
saw it before.
They freaked out. They hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
And did they threaten legal action or anything to try to?
I mean, they didn't. They didn't go all the way. They were very knocked over by the film in a negative way. They didn't like it. They didn't really get it at first. They didn't watch it with friends. They watched it in a kind of vacuum. His nature is to not like something initially and then try to get it to be changed. So we were kind of in that system. They were really giving me as hard a time as they possibly could give me. I mean, we weren't getting into litigation. We didn't go there, but certainly it seemed to be on the horizon if things didn't go their way. So there were lots of concerns. We showed it to them, I'd say, about 5, 6, 7 times in different European capitals, depending on where they were. Yeah, I mean, they would summon me and say, we're ready to see it again. What have you done? I'd say, I've done nothing. You're going to not like it again. It's the same movie. We show it again. They hate it even more. I kept on saying to them, watch it with other people. I'll have a screening with people that none of us know, and you can sneak in the back and sit there. I even forgot that I'd done this, or offered it. And sit and watch a room full of 100, 200 people, and you'll see how they love this film. Because we had tested it with other audiences, and we knew that people really played, as they say. And the audience, it's an audience movie, actually, which you wouldn't expect from a documentary. Because it's fun, funny, it's glamorous, and it's this real kind of, it's got an emotional arc in it as well. So audiences respond. No. It's bad. We hate it. We don't show up when you release it. This was the idea. So I was very prepared to go out with the movie without them. And I think our only recourse would have been to have marketed as the film Valentino didn't want you to see, which I think was legitimate because it was the truth. And that was what we were going to do. How things resolved, well, you've seen the film, so you can see what he does, and I thought that we had a good shot of resolving it, even though I was very worried because they were really playing a poker face. I knew that he tended to go crazy and then come around, but Giancarlo was the one that had to bring him around, and I didn't know whether Giancarlo was really playing his hand close to his vest. I didn't know whether he was working for me or against me. Finally, we got into the Venice Film Festival. It's a huge deal in Italy to do that, and they're so keyed into prestige that was like the signal to them that, okay, maybe this is going to go somewhere. We better batten down the hatches and figure out what we're going to do. So their response to that was to come to Venice and give a huge party and do it up, because they thought, if we're going to go down, we better go down in style. I think that was
the idea.
Exactly. I subscribe to that. I think that's a good approach. So anyway, the movie went way over the top in Venice. I mean, I think now with some distance and having been to many film festivals, I think you can say we stole the show in Venice, which was out of nowhere. There was no expectation that this movie, that was supposed to be this silly fashion doc about Valentino, stole all the press. If you look at the newspapers, it's a stack, a foot high. We're on the front page of every paper in Italy for not just one day, for a second day usually. The critics were unanimously raving about it. So I was bowled over by that, thrilled. And it was a very satisfying moment for me because they fell in love with the movie in Venice, and it was like a resolution of a Mozart opera or something. I mean, the comedic opera came to a close there, and then we could move forward and begin to do our business of releasing the film in the United States, which we are in the middle of right now. And they showed up here.
Where are they?
They everywhere. I mean, something extraordinary happened along the road, which is that I'll tell the little story here. We were also at the Toronto Film Festival. They came to Toronto, and the ovation in Toronto, it's unbelievable, but it was bigger than it was in Venice. It was literally like a 12-minute standing ovation for Valentino. It was really crazy. But Toronto's a huge film city, and he did them the honor of showing up there, and they loved the movie. So Valentino was knocked out by that, and he thought, okay, I'm looking around at these people. They're not well dressed. Okay.
Which is odd for him. I'm sure he's not around that much.
And but it's Canada. It's not exactly, the fashion capital of the West, even of the Western world. But he said, this movie people really must love this movie. If Italians loved it in Venice, okay, now what do I have to do with Toronto? Nothing.
Right.
So he was like very, very tail wagging, paws up,
like one of his little pugs,
ready to go. Yeah, exactly. So after a screening in Toronto, the director Ivan Reitman came up to me. He happened to be there, and he said he really loved it, and could I send him the print? So I did, and it turned out he showed it to Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah Winfrey really fell in love with the movie. So out of nowhere, Valentino, Giancarlo, and I, in fact, ran into her at a party in LA during the Oscars, and she was effusing about the film, and out of the blue said, I want to have a show about the movie. So this changed everything in a lot of ways. I mean, he was in the United States, we all went to Chicago, and we were all three on the show, and it was one of those out-of-body moments. And that, I think, brought us to a place where we could have a high-profile indie launch in the United States, which is what we're in the middle of right now. Valentino came to New York for the premiere, which is at the Museum of Modern Art. Madonna came to the premiere, thanks to them. Gwyneth Paltrow brought Madonna as her guest, and we've had these star-studded premieres with red carpets here, and we did the same in Los Angeles, again with Gwyneth and Anne Hathaway, and then we've been going to cities, doing a kind of blitz around the country. But we also did Oprah, we did Charlie Rose, we did Barbara Walters, The View, we did Martha Stewart. Valentino was on Ryan Seacrest. I mean, it's kind of becoming a phenomenon.
He realizes he can extend his career even though he's retired to a certain extent.
I think it's occurred to him. I mean, this was always clear to me when I saw how audiences reacted to the movie, because Valentino didn't need the film to be an icon. That's done, okay? But this is different. I mean, there are people in the theaters that wouldn't give him a second thought, don't know who he is. There's a younger generation that doesn't know the story, even if they're fashion, people. And Project Runway has brought fashion, how do you say this? Has given birth to a whole generation, a whole demographic of fashionistas that didn't exist before. So that audience is out there, but Valentino wasn't relevant to them at all. So they're finding him, and he's post-career becoming an icon all over again. And we've seen that phenomenon occurring. So it's an interesting opportunity for him.